And you realize once you know, you have a responsibility. And then of course you process, what can I do about it? I'm one person. What can I do about it? This is overwhelming. Well, all I can say is that you are surrounded by people who have stepped up into that. This is what I can do about it. I can start a nonprofit, I can start a website, I can educate myself, I can be insistent around my friends and inform them. I can call people to the state capitol steps. I can make YouTube videos. I can test the water, the rainwater. I can test the soil. I can test my hair samples. This is stepping into action. And the most important action, ironically of all, is to ensure that we have a future for these young children standing behind you right now. Because we're doing this for you guys. Look up and look at the skies. And who are we? Who are we? How many of you people saw the film, What the Bleep Do We Know? How many of you, and this is a very pivotal, important, we love you guys. Look up, babies, look up. In What the Bleep We Know, What the Bleep Do We Know, I actually saw this one little piece that really had a big impact on me. And they were talking about the Native Americans who were standing on the eastern shores of America when Columbus and the first discoverers of America came along. And they talked about how the Native Americans were looking and they saw, do you guys remember this? They were seeing these waves coming at them. And they kept seeing these unusual waves coming at them, but they couldn't figure out what was behind it, what was causing it. And sure enough, the chief came along. And the chief saw what was causing the waves. And it was a ship pushing the water from the bow of the boat. But because the Native Americans had never seen a ship before, their brain couldn't identify it. It couldn't see it. All I can say is you and I are the first ones to see the ship. And people are going to call us crazy. And all I can say is your skies are being sprayed. They are going to call us conspiracy theorists. And all I can respond is your skies, they're being sprayed. They're going to call us tin foil hat wearers. And all I can say is your skies are being sprayed. You're a fearmonger. And your skies, they're still being sprayed. So we are here today, not just to come together to know that we're not compartmentalized and that we're separate and we're a lone voice. We're coming here to empower one another and to know and to see that we are on the verge of making a very, very, very big difference. So we have incredible speakers who are going to be coming before you. They will be telling you about their own personal journeys, and we're all there. We're all on it. And we're all here to help each other, because in all honesty, if we don't have each other's backs, nobody does. So what I want to say is that when we ask ourselves, what can I do? What can one person do? I'm going to give you an exemplary person here who shows you what one person can do, and that is Lisa Thomas. Lisa organized this. Lisa is my hero, and this planet's very lucky to have Lisa.
Thanks, Reinette. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm going to be very brief here, and if I know I'm going to forget things because I just didn't have time to write anything down, so I'm going to kind of wing it here. I do have a speech I'm going to read as quickly as I can because we're a little bit behind schedule, but the thing that I need to say to every single person standing out here, thank you so much for being here. I stood out in 2013 on the corner about an eighth of a mile from my house when we were being sprayed like crazy, and I was all by myself out there with my sign, "Look Up," walking back and forth. So here we are almost 3 years later, and there's a crowd of people on the steps of the California State Capitol who are determined to make a difference, and I appreciate every one of you for coming as far as you have. I know that some of you came from Southern California. I met somebody a little while ago who drove here this morning from Los Angeles. We had people fly in. We had somebody, our artist, our rap artist came from South Africa. So we have people from all over the place who've come to this place today to say enough is enough. We can make a difference. So I'm going to read a speech that was written by somebody else. She's a scientist, and her future is kind of at stake here. So I don't want to say who it is. And it's going to take probably about 9 minutes. If I need to be louder, let me know. And I wish that I had read it sooner, because had I done that, it would be in the information packets that we have to hand out to our legislators. There is a box on that table, so at some point today, if every one of you would find out who your senator or who your assemblyman or both is up in this building, and grab one of those packets that are in the plastic bags on the table over there under the blue canopy, and take it to your legislative office and say, we need to give you this information. There's a mixture of information in there. Some is pro, some is con. It's just a mixture so that they can see both sides of where this information is coming from. We also have sign-up sheets up here. If you are from an area where there is not already an organization established, find people in your area and make one. We started by having monthly meetings, and every month we get together and we talk about where do we go from here. That's how Sierra Nevada Geoengineering Awareness started, and we were the catalyst behind getting a whole group of people together to form California for Natural Skies, which is the coalition that put this event together today. And I thank the people so much who are behind this. And I wish I could do it all by name, but there have been a whole group of us working on this. I did not do this myself. So thank you so much. There are sign-up sheets for the existing organizations. If you live in one of those counties, one of those areas, sign up and start getting together with people in your area to say, to figure out what you can do. So with that, I'm going to read this. And the schedule is up here if you're wondering how things are going today. We do have one change to the schedule. David Castle was coming from Carson City, and they got stuck in this. Well, they can't make it past Donner Summit, so we're going to have to rearrange our schedule with that. But geoengineering and atmospheric programs for 5 years now. The documents I've come across, including military documents, historical documents, and documents from weather modification companies, such as Weather Modification, Inc., have brought astounding environmental and public health concerns to my attention. I believe that it is critical for Californians to join together to form this coalition of concerned citizens to fight for a ban on this risky technology. Geoengineering describes two very different technologies. One is carbon dioxide removal, which seeks to remove CO2 from the atmosphere to reduce climate change effects. The other is solar radiation management, which seeks to reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the Earth's surface in an effort to limit the negative effects of climate change. Both technologies can significantly alter the Earth's physical and climate systems, and both technologies can produce negative environmental and public health impacts. In 2010, the Washington Post and other media outlets covered an international ban on this technology in the interest of preserving biodiversity. Although interestingly, the international ban is no longer mentioned in more recent articles from the same source. The U.S. may want to keep geoengineering on the table as a climate mitigation option, but the rest of the international community does not agree. The 2010 measure was adopted under the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity, which states, and I quote, that no climate-related geoengineering activities that may affect biodiversity take place until there is an adequate scientific basis on which to justify such activities and appropriate consideration of the associated risks for the environment and biodiversity and associated social, economic, and cultural impacts, with the exception of small-scale scientific research studies under controlled circumstances. This is important because geoengineering cannot be conducted without what are called transboundary effects. This means that the country that initiates a geoengineering program is not the only country that will be impacted by the consequences of that program. Because of this, 193 nations signed an international treaty banning any geoengineering or geoengineering research that could potentially harm biodiversity unless the experiments are strictly controlled, small scale, and any potential environmental impacts are well understood. The United States never ratified this treaty. Instead, U.S. Representative Bart Gordon of Tennessee introduced a bill calling for a program for research on geoengineering the very same year. It is so important for the voices of the people that the voices of the people be heard on this issue because the environment has no voice of its own, and because geoengineering is a technology that affects everyone. Therefore, any discussion of its implementation should be held democratically. The global population has spoken, and 193 nations agree geoengineering is not worth the risk. Citizens who have concerns of ongoing geoengineering are largely ignored, in part due to the marginalization of activists using less scientific terminology or concepts, despite the very real need for open public involvement in the discussion of this new technology that seeks to alter the global climate. It is important to note that not all information you will hear on either side of the issue will always be accurate, credible, or factual. Just as tobacco science was confused by public relations firms and the impacts of tobacco on lung cancer went ignored for decades, we are also facing the same fundamental issues. We have a lack of resources invested in the protection of public and environmental health, and the implementation of atmospheric programs is no exception. Weather modification has occurred for hundreds of years, from primitive methods of cloud seeding to more sinister activities, including Operation Popeye in Vietnam, where weather modification was used to gain a military advantage by extending the rainy season in Vietnam to flood out Viet Cong transport roads. Even more concerning, germ warfare has occurred for decades in the United States as well. Operation Sea Spray was a biological warfare experiment conducted by the U.S. military, which exposed San Francisco residents to bacteria in the 1950s. Operation Large Area Coverage was an even more disturbing experiment that occurred in the 1950s and 1960s, which exposed St. Louis residents to zinc cadmium sulfide with radioactive particles. Populations that were targeted in this experiment included children and the socioeconomically disadvantaged. These military programs are now all confirmed by declassified documents obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests. Currently, our government has been caught in various lies, yet the public collectively has chosen to ignore corruption, including illegal wiretapping by the NSA, the atrocities at Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo, and the trillions of dollars that were, quote, misplaced from the Pentagon's defense budget. Who knows where and how those trillions of taxpayer dollars were spent? Interestingly, the CIA has been reported to have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in researching this technology. We cannot ignore something as important as jeopardizing our atmosphere. Research has shown that introducing particles into the atmosphere increases the reactive surface area available for ozone-destroying reactions to occur. This means that this technology would deplete the ozone layer. Even proposing this technology is foolish. One chemical that can be used is sulfur dioxide, a common pollutant that combines with atmospheric moisture to form sulfuric acid, which causes acid rain. The trade-offs of this technology are simply unacceptable, given the well-known negative effects of acid rain on ecosystems and public property, and the documented human respiratory health impacts associated with the introduction of particles into the atmosphere. Another chemical that has been suggested is aluminum and barium nanoparticles. Nanoparticles are tiny particles less than a micron in width or length. A micron is a millionth of a meter. These particles are so small they behave in different ways than larger particles of the same material. They can slip in between plasma membranes and enter cells more readily. They can cross the blood-brain barrier and enter brain tissue more easily as well. Aluminum is considered to be what is known as generally recognized as safe. This means the government does not regulate the amounts of aluminum in the environment or in drinking water. The EPA has established what are called secondary standards for drinking water that are not enforceable. Although aluminum is safe in the form of aluminum cooking sheets and pans, it is not scientifically accurate to assume that nanoparticulate aluminum is also benign. The method of ingestion and the level of biological exposure are completely different when considering spraying nanoparticles into the upper atmosphere. Pulmonary emphysema and other respiratory damage can result from short-term exposure of rats to aluminum nanoparticles, according to a recent paper published in the Bulletin of Environment, Pharmacology, and Life Sciences, a peer-reviewed scientific journal. Chronic exposures to chemicals often result in negative health effects at even lower concentrations needed for symptoms to appear over a shorter time period. This means that over longer exposure periods or over a lifetime of exposure, negative health effects can occur even from very small amounts of material being ingested or inhaled repeatedly over time. What is it that we are seeing in the skies above us all too often? Why are these white lines so frequent, so expansive, and so unlike the contrails from our childhoods? Our kids are growing up in a time where many of the days in the week there are clouds in the sky that are of man-made origin. Jet trails spread and persist at a much more frequent rate. Although there is, of course, much more air traffic today than the past, there is a much greater proportion of jet trails that leave long persisting trails compared to those leaving the familiar trails, which rapidly evaporate. It is shocking to me to see beautiful sunsets crisscrossed with grid lines, revealing what appear to be concentrated spray patterns that do not reflect local flight paths. Yet many do not appear to notice the changes that have occurred over such a short period of time. Perhaps we are all looking down at our cell phones too often and have forgotten to look up at the world around us. Kids look up at the clouds and often see what some of them are now calling tic-tac-toe clouds, something I certainly don't remember from my childhood. Our kids should have natural skies to breathe and to play beneath. Thank you again for your concern and consideration. It is critical that we gain support for a bill to pass legislation to ban this risky technology in California. California has been the lead on many environmental issues, and other states have often followed suit afterwards. We will push for the United States to join the rest of the world and ratify the 2010 international treaty banning all harmful geoengineering activities. But we need local support at the state level first. Thank you for being the foundation of support helping to grow this movement. And that was written by someone who would rather just not speak in front of everybody. I read it for her, and I thank her so much for the effort that she put into that. And I thank you all again for being here today, because this is how we change the future.
Thank you, Lisa. That was amazing. So next, I have a lot of heroes coming up to speak today, I have to tell you. Next is Patrick Roddie. I heard about Patrick first, I think, through YouTube, and then we became a Facebook friend. Patrick is a chemtrail geoengineering activist and researcher out of San Francisco. He presented his paper, Human Health Impacts of Proposed Geoengineering Proposals, to the Paris Climate Geoengineering Conference in July, testified at the Federal Environmental Protection Agency on aircraft pollution in August, and gave a presentation at a climate modification technology workshop, yes, they have those, in Istanbul, Turkey in December 2015. He was born in Northern Ireland and has a background in physics, journalism, photography. He's pissed off like we are. Please welcome Patrick Roddie.
Yay, thank you everyone for coming out here. This is how we're going to win this thing, is people talking to people. We can't rely on these guys, we can't rely on the press, we can't rely on people who call themselves scientists. Science is observation. Anyone can do it. You observe things and you record it and you see if it fits a model. I mean, the paper that I did for the Paris Climate Conference in July, Human Health Impacts of Proposed Geoengineering Solutions, is quite simple. The geoengineers in public will only talk about sulfur dioxide, but in their own papers they say, yeah, sulfates don't really work, you got to use aluminum and barium instead. So all I did was just Google barium toxicity, for example. Less than 1 gram will kill an adult human. These guys are talking about spraying 500 million tons of this stuff in our skies. And again, back to my paper, all I did was then look up the CDC statistics of the things that these elements can cause, like pulmonary arrest, and Alzheimer's, and these have all gone way up. If you're going to remember one fact of all of the things that I've said today, remember this one. Respiratory failure overtook stroke to become the third leading cause of death in 2011. Number 3, overtaking stroke, because stroke was always in the top 3. What's changed? We've got better emissions on cars. Our factories have moved to China. They've got they got like the scrubbers on power plants. So we should have cleaner air. Why are people dying from respiratory failure if it isn't for this stuff? It's war. I mean, the people of Dresden, when they were firebombed, they could see the bombs coming down and, you know, the fires going up and people, like hundreds of thousands of people dying. They could see that with their own eyes. And they could hear, when they hear the planes, they'd run for cover. I'm not suggesting we run for cover, but we should see this as devastating as what happened in Dresden, because if you extrapolate those numbers, those are just US statistics. There's 7 billion people on the planet. How many people are dying premature deaths from what they're breathing in? It's war, and only one side knows it's going on. We, the victims, are blissfully unaware. We play happy Flappy Birds on our phones or look at the Kardashians and stuff, and meanwhile, our relatives are dying early deaths. Our children have asthma and all these weird diseases that are new. Lord knows what they're spraying, but we do know it's at the very least aluminum barium. And I'm not going to get into a debate, oh, is it happening or not? It's going on. Anybody who is presented with the evidence and who says, oh, I don't believe it, that's just that's a condensation trail, I'll tell them, yeah, so what's in condensing too? There's stuff getting sprayed. What is this stuff? Do something about it. If they don't stand up and say, hey, this is wrong, I'm going to do something about it, they are collaborators, complicit, accessories to murder, treason, and we're in it for the species. This is a battle against humanity, and the people funding this stuff have been all in on depopulation from the get-go. And it's nothing new. If you read Plato's Republic, back then they were saying, oh, there's too many ancient Greeks. I mean, all these foundations they come from the robber barons. The robber barons are all in on population control. The Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Gates, all these. I just call them the scumbags, you know. But we should treat it. I definitely do not suggest doing anything violent. We're not going to take up arms and storm the EPA. You just call people on it. But before we're going to have the massive power that we really need, we have to raise awareness. Right now, if you talk to someone at random, have you heard of GMOs? Vast majority will have heard of them, and those who have heard of them will, given a choice, avoid them. We are not at that level with geoengineering yet, not by a long shot. I mean, the amount of people who know about it has increased. I mean, maybe perhaps doubling each year, but doubling from a small number. We need to have this on everybody's minds, and without that massive pressure, we're not going to push back. There have been, you think, well, okay, little me, what can I do? Because the planes are way up there, nobody knows, oh, woe is me. The people who first started finding GMOs were in the same boat. They were called called all kinds of names. Oh, you're a paranoid conspiracy, whatever. But now you got chains like Trader Joe's who are trying to get rid of all GMOs. I mean, there's Hungary's trying to kick them out, Uruguay. It can happen from the bottom, but it has to be the bottom. Don't wait for someone else to come up and say, oh, here, follow me to do this. Talk to someone on the bus. That's all it needs, because you don't know, whoever drop the final straw or penny for you to go, oh, hey, yeah, this is a problem, I want to do something about it. You have no idea from appearances, whoever you're talking to, that might be the key moment for them to actually go out and talk to 1,000 people. It's got to be grassroots. If your expertise is legislative, bureaucratic-y kind of legal or all those sort of things, do that. If your thing is knitting, do that. But whatever you have in your being, use it and fight this thing. We're in it for the species. This is a war, and until people know they're under attack, they're not going to even know to even consider to fight back. And it has become ridiculously blatant. They're pushing hard. Since COP21, they're saying, we have to be within this 1.5 degree thing, so we might just have to do this spraying thing. We don't want to do it, but we might have to. So they're pushing hard, and they may not. My concern when I went to Paris in July was they were going to try and put language in that agreement. I don't think they're even going to bother doing that. They're just going to implement. I mean, they already have implemented. You just have to look at anyone who's watching this YouTube video and thinks, oh, he's crazy. Earthview.nasa.gov. Go there, have a look around. The planet is being, a child can know this stuff looks wrong. Actually, children do know. They look up like, what the hell, what's that going on? Everyone who's looked up knows something's up. But until we tell them what's actually going on, we're not going to get places. Like I said, this is a covert program. It's going on globally, and we shouldn't necessarily think, oh, we need. I mean, sure, put pressure on whoever is close by hiding this crime, but don't rely on someone on a white horse. Don't rely on me. Don't rely on anyone. Rely on yourself. You are more powerful than you think. Like I'm just some guy. I don't have degrees in whatever. And when I heard about the Paris thing, screw it, I'll write a paper. I've never written a paper before. I went to Paris. I got into the hands of 700 of the attendees there. And then the EPA thing, and then I just did it. And don't wait for permission. Don't try to. And you'll be surprised what you can do. So do it. We'll win this thing. It might take time. I mean, the people at the beginning of the GMO thing might probably felt, I don't know, it's a big uphill thing. But what I'm doing today is on the work of people who came before me, and there's going to be people after. And it's like, if you think of humanity like an ecosystem, and we have a predator class, predator, prey, parasite, host. We've always had them. We always will have them. So that's not going to change. But anytime you have a disease, an immune system kicks in and flushes out or tamps down the bad stuff. And I see this movement as an immune system for the planet. And we have to be the white blood cells to stop this massive war on all life on Earth. So yay, keep it up. That's 15 minutes? Awesome.
Good job. Thank you so much. That was wonderful, Patrick. So we're very fortunate today. Lisa was determined, and some of the other volunteers, to get Elaine Sadenberg here from South Africa. Elaine is a hip-hop artist who grew up in Botswana and South Africa, and he also spent a few years in Italy. He started rapping 3 years ago as a way to express his opinion. Elaine flew all the way to our rally from South Africa, and we'd like to say a great big thank you to everyone who made this and contributed to his fundraising to get him here. So please welcome, all the way from South Africa to Sacramento for our rally, the Syllable Villain with White Lines.
Hello, hello. thank you for being here today, guys. And thank you all for coming out today, having me over here, helping me fly out here to do this for you guys. It's really, really an honor. And yeah, it's lovely to see so many people here. The track that I'm going to be performing for you is a track called White Lines, and is a track that I wrote when I was living in Ireland a couple of years ago. I grew up in southern Africa, and looking up at the skies there, you never see the trails that you see in this part of the world. So moving to Europe and to Ireland, looking around, looking at the skies, I was quite shocked to see these lines crossing. And after a bit of investigation and a bit of research, I decided that the best way for me to spread this information was to put it into music. So this is that track for you. If you would like to, that would be... Hey, Sacramento. Yo man, I walk around, watching planes fly overhead, spraying us with these trails of aluminium and lead, and as it spreads, it fills me with all this anger and dread, and I'm led to wish that we were all just dead instead. How my heart bled to see them messing with the heavens. Now it's 6s and 7s, man, we never learn our lessons, and we never gave our blessings to mess around with our clouds. Now we're endowed with the shrub that is poison in the ground. I'm getting loud, cause we need to stop this betrayal, and every cloud I inhale is tainted by green trails, causing summer skies to hail and your organs to fail. If your soul is for sale, you should be locked up in jail. You're getting pale, checking that the skies are clear, but if you watch a little longer, see those white lines appear, causing lies and fear, cause our demise is near. But if your mind stays sincere, then your cries will one day endear. Keep looking up, hoping the sky is clear. But watch a little longer, see white lines appear. Your mind stays clear as the time draws near. The only power they hold over you is fear. Where's the love? It's raining poison from above, getting into everything from the water down to the shrubs. I've had enough. Now you expect me to be patient. You say there is no proof, but it's hidden inside your patents. Effects are latent, so you must just wait and see. Man, if you want a disaster, that's the perfect recipe. Now it's clear to me that something has just gone wrong, cause what we're doing up there is short of dropping a bomb. How I long for a world free of all of the tyranny, all the villainy, man, it is straight up killing me. There's no conspiracy, the truth's up in the sky. And would you put it past your governments to tell a lie? Neither would I. Let's end this hell. I'm here to raise the issue and you can do it as well, cause this is World War III and I'm just ringing a bell. And the only way we'll stop them is if we stand and rebel. Thank you guys. Keep looking up, hoping the sky is clear. But watch a little longer, see white lines appear. Make sure your mind stays near as the time draws near. The only power they hold over you is fear. Thank you guys.
Everyone seems to be looking for one answer to chemtrails, but they are multi-purpose. Chemtrails are lacing the skies of high answer to chemtrails, but they are...
Thank you very much, guys. And before I get off the stage, I just want to spit a little a cappella free verse for you that I wrote this morning. Okay. Let's embrace this place we call our planet and home. Protect it with your heart, not your PC or your iPhone. It's your responsibility, man's fault alone, because the seed of destruction's the only one that we've grown. We're drowning in concrete with no way to escape. Victims of this system's psychological rape. From prostitution to constitution, everything's on tape. Look around, see the state of this planet's crumbling fate. Our skies are polluted, divided by chemtrails. Tides of plastics in the oceans are killing killing off all our whales. Forests disappear in newspaper sales. Earthquakes and hurricanes in the desert it hails. Our jungles and our rivers are drowning in waste because we're going through the motions like a rat in a race. We're brainwashed that life and love should be wasted with haste. But in this place we've been blindfolded, we no longer see the grace. Governments lie to the world, saying all is in order. Annihilation of the masses, primary target, new world order. They've been striving to achieve since they set up our borders. And now we're being circled by sharks as we tread in murky waters. Thank you, guys.
We have a diverse group of people here today because there are a diverse set of eyes waking up. And if whether you're a musician or whether you're a videographer or a photographer or a mother, you can also be a scientist. We have next Allan Buckman. Allan is a weather observer. He's a U.S. Air Force observer, wildlife biologist for California Fish and Wildlife. He's retired, and his eyes have also opened, and he is here today to also join us and tell us what it is that he is seeing. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's really good to see you here today. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but let me start with where I kind of fell into this. Even though I was a weather observer in the Air Force, after I got out of the Air Force, I went to work for the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Well, I guess it's Fish and Wildlife now. And it wasn't until about 2002 that somebody handed me a video that said Marin chemtrails. And I thought, what the heck is a chemtrail? And I watched the video. It didn't take me but about a minute into the video to realize that I hadn't been paying attention. Like a lot of people aren't paying attention to what's going on in the sky. A couple things were immediately clear to me. Now, my training basically told me we've got jet clouds that are forming at 30 and 40,000 feet. Well, the jet engines we have now are clean. There shouldn't be any particulates coming out of those engines unless they're additives. So what did they add? And what is it that's staying in the sky that long? I mean, it has to be really small. I went, well, it has to be nanoscale to be up there. So what's going on? That's pretty dangerous because jet clouds basically form cirriform cloud cover. And when you have, in fact, it's up over the top of all of our storms now, if you look. They're spraying it while you're really not looking or can't see them. But it forms Boy, I hate to go blank when I'm in the middle of something. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm blank too. Yeah, no, what it does is it creates a greenhouse effect, which increases global warming. It increases storm intensity. It changes the climate. When you change all those things, then you really screw up the weather and the cycles for the wildlife. And believe me, when I realized what was going on, I went, this is really dangerous stuff. Like, who's doing it? And what exactly is in the spray? Well, I got together with Rosalind Peterson, and we got a copy of the California drinking water records. And they're written in such a way that I defy you to pick it up and make any conclusions when you go through the data. It was absolutely absurd. So she had a computer program written for it. When we extracted the information out of the database, we found out that in 1987, every drinking water in California, every supply was polluted with aluminum and barium and strontium and a whole lot of other metals. and a whole lot of other junk. And they didn't really get too specific about the rest of the junk, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But okay, so we have a nano-aluminum, and what do the nanoparticles do to the physical health? They're raining down. Well, my physics tells me that when they spray it, it basically creates kind of a mirror in the sky, and all of the particles drifting down are ionizing our air column. So in effect, when it's a huge system, we're actually standing in a plasma envelope. You're drinking it, you're eating it, you're breathing it, and we're all getting contaminated with this. I had my metals checked and they were pretty high. I found out that safflower oil is really good. It'll help strip it out, and it's cheap. You don't have to go buy all that expensive stuff. Then I discovered HARP. I went into research at that time. Well, I found out that the Jet Cloud program and the HARP program were designed by the military as complementary weather weapons. We are indeed at weather war. It's being played on us daily. And I got amazed as I went around and started spreading the word on this and my concerns. Nobody said anything. Like, I didn't find out anything. You talk to the weather people, they didn't know anything about that. Talk to the congressman, they didn't know anything about that. I found out later that almost every one of them was familiar with Dennis Kucinich's Space Act, and those terms were used in the Space Act. In fact, they cut all of it out. So they spent a lot of time editing this thing, right? Well, it's lies. We are living in a hugely deceptive environment now where it's almost all lies and obfuscation. And it's destroying our wildlife. Forest fires and the dying of the trees is no joke. I had an article here, one of the recent ones, it basically says, millions of trees are teetering on death in California. And as part of that drought monitor, there's a whole system there's a whole site on this. You can look that up. Okay, I got concerned about the trees, so we started looking at trees and evaluating those. Started taking samples. Okay, again, in the samples we're finding aluminum and barium and strontium and the regular players in that. So it's got to be coming out of the jet clouds. There is no other source. They've already proven it's not dust from Asia. We know it isn't. It's not industrial stuff covering the entire Earth. So who's pulling whose leg here? Now, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense at all. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about, HARP. HARP is interesting because when you look at the HARP site, you could see how they were using HARP energy to push our jet stream off the California coast up into the polar vortex that then ricocheted and came down the central United States and the East Coast. What it did was it dry out California, so it put us in drought. It flooded the Midwest and it froze the East, and those were all going on at the same time. We've seen I saw 3 vortices along the Pacific coast here recently. Well, last month, where there were 3 vortexes in a row and they're spinning in opposite directions. And I went, I have never seen anything like that before. Somebody had to create that. I mean, these guys are talented. They wanted to own the weather by 2025. Well, I think they own it now. And they're wreaking havoc on the rest of us. But what I couldn't get around was why? Why in the world are they doing that? What aren't they telling us? And I know one of the whistleblowers, and this is a really important, was Ted Gunderson. And he was the director of the FBI office in Los Angeles. And basically, Ted, after he retired, he went on the campaign trail to let this information out. And he said that they're death dumps, otherwise known as chemical trails. They're being dropped and sprayed throughout the USA in England, Scotland, Ireland, and Northern Europe. This is poison. This element within our society that is doing this must be stopped. And according to his doctor, here, 2 years ago, Ed was poisoned. Ted was poisoned with arsenic. His hands turned black, and they killed him. And you go back and you look at other whistleblowers, and the trail of bodies that's involved in trying to cover all this up is absolutely amazing. Well, I'm not going to get too far into that, but these folks are serious. This other element, well, who in the hell is the other element? You know, I started really looking at some geopolitical sites. One of them is Benjamin Fulford. If you haven't looked at Fulford's site, in fact, the powers that be don't like Fulford, so don't believe what you read in the criticism about him. But he basically came out and said, look, I'm the spokesman for the White Hats and the White Dragons, which are the Asian, American, and other counterparts to a revolution going on within the country that's happening right now. And President Eisenhower, bless his heart, he created Section 21 of the Military Code of Justice that in case, he was really worried about the military-industrial complex, and he created Section 21 that said to the real military, if it gets too far out and away from our Constitution, you are to implement the change and take over the government again and get us back into the democracy. Okay? According to Ben, this has been in place and it's happening right now. So we've got help. They're not showing themselves either, but there's been a lot of things happening. They're taking down a lot of the capitalists. They're drying up their money. There are a lot of really interesting stories about what's going on and who's doing what with who. Fulford has a real, I mean, you'll get a real entertainment reading his blog. He tells who the bad guys are, who's working with who, what they're trying to do, and basically it is that they want to, it's the folks that want to create their one world government. They want 90% of us to disappear and then the rest of us to be their slaves. Well, I'm sorry, you know, I don't want to be working for you. I don't want you taking over our world, and you have no idea how much damage you're doing to our ecology. Oh, this is serious. This is really serious. And you know, I wore this shirt here because, well, actually I have a couple wolf dogs and I love wolves, but I love the wildlife, and I want to speak out for them too, because we're all in this together. No one's getting out of it unless they, you know, these folks have some way either get off the planet or go underground, and I understand there's lots of bunkers and lots of places for all this stuff. So are they hiding from us? Well, they're concerned about how many of us there are. And if we can wake up, we can help stop all this too. So what you're doing here is really important. And waking people up is the hardest part. Anyway, we're no longer teaching the values of the Constitution, you know, civic authority and enlightenment. It would really be good for us to get back on that track. And I guess my final statement would be that in a world of lies and deception, truth is revolutionary. I do have one more thing to add because I forgot it. Scientists in NOAA came out with this article here just recently. Airplane contrails may be creating accidental geoengineering. Well, this came out of NOAA. Okay, right after that is when Obama put the gag order on NOAA and the Weather Service. So go figure. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Allan, for your incredible work and your eyes and your knowledge. I know I'm talking to a very educated group of people. That's why you're here today. And I'm sure you started your journey by first being disturbed and noticing something was amiss. How many of you know that you can actually bet on the weather on Wall Street? Yeah.
Futures.
Okay, so what's on Wall Street that's not rigged? Can I give me one example, please? How many of you know that Monsanto has a drought-resistant and aluminum-resistant seed? Right, exactly. How many of you know that a Rothschild sits on the PG&E board? Exactly. So just start connecting the dots. You start seeing what's going on here. So I'm very happy to say that we have people who are not only musicians and biologists and artists and politicians who are waking up, but we also have attorneys, and we need attorneys. And one of them is Joe Marman. For a long time, Joe Marman was the only attorney in the whole United States that had volunteered to sue the government for spraying chemtrails on its citizens. Thank you, Joe. Recently, he and a group of people, 6 other attorneys from around the U.S. have been working to start a lawsuit against the federal government to force disclosure of the facts of the government spraying, as well as to stop the program for violations of environmental protection laws. Joe is here to talk about it, and again, I got another hero.
Hello, glad to be here. I'd like to give you an update on what we have a legal team now with probably 11 attorneys across the United States, a couple in Canada, San Diego, and there was a while ago a group on Facebook. They had 1,800 members called Geoengineering Facebook, and I was the only attorney volunteering to help get a lawsuit going. So the leaders tried to get each person to contribute $100, but $600 trickled in. If it would have been the other way, I could have hired a team to get going on that. And the reason I've always liked a lawsuit is that you can squawk all you want, you know, but a lawsuit is something the government just cannot ignore. I've been tracking some of the lawsuits. Morrison Forster out of San Francisco, they like to call themselves MoFo, but they brought a lawsuit on behalf of veterans to compensate them for Agent Orange contamination from Vietnam. And after a whole year, they were on their 3rd amended complaint, and it was 100 pages long, and it just gets complicated. There's another law firm, Kotchett Petrie out of San Francisco, and I've kind of got a copy of their lawsuit, and we're going to coordinate that to get our lawsuit going. But I want to say that it's not easy just to go out and file a lawsuit, because there's considerations such as cost. If you lose a case, you can get hit with costs, not attorney's fees, but I know there was one of our members brought a lawsuit for some environmental damage over by Sonoma, ended up losing the case, and she got hit with $40,000 in costs. So she made it important that I inform all of our potential plaintiffs that you can get hit for costs, so we have to be careful with that. But I've been doing contingency cases, which means we only get paid if we win, for 27 years, so I'm pretty, I think, capable of assessing whether we're going to win. As a single attorney, I worried about getting hit with truckloads of discovery and motions to dismiss, but now that we have a team, I think we're going to be going pretty strong. About 5 years ago, I wrote to 5 different federal agencies with demanding that under 50 USC section 1520, it prohibits the federal government from spraying and experimenting on the public, and if they do spray, they have to report it to Congress. And I wrote to them and said, hey, where's the evidence that you reported this to Congress, and what results have you got? And they wrote back, it was even Undersecretary of the Army, Leon Panetta, and they said, we don't know what you're talking about. Even when I sent a Freedom of Information request, even to NOAA, National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration, they said they didn't know what we were talking about either. There's one more complication. I'm giving the legal background here that there's 2 cases. One is called Iqbal and the other was Twombly that have recently come up in the last 3 or 5 years that requires a plaintiff to have pretty articulatable facts when you file your complaint, and it has to withstand enough scrutiny that you can almost prove your case just by filing the complaint. And there's usually going to be an inevitable motion to dismiss based on Iqbal and Twombly, so we have to be pretty careful for a couple of reasons. We don't want to have a motion to dismiss. It would be embarrassing, and it's going to get nationwide or worldwide attention, so we have to draft this pretty carefully. One of the things that our group has been doing, we've been having conference calls every week, and it's been decided that we hire a Washington, D.C. public relations firm to help publicize this, because even though there's been other lawsuits against the federal government, they haven't got a lot of impact because we need to educate the public. For example, the Porter Valley methane leak, it was a week before mainstream news picked up on that. And just like Allan Buckman said, there's a federal gag order prohibiting weathermen from talking about the chemtrail spraying. They used to show pictures, photographs of the skies, and now it's all computer generated, and because Rothschilds bought the Weather Channel, and just to keep us all kind of in the dark. Us attorneys are all operating on a pro bono basis, which means we don't get paid, which we're fine with that, but I will assert part of our cause of action for a private attorney general theory, which is if we win eventually, that we can be compensated if we accomplish a good public benefit. So just one nice theory or a piece of ammunition in our wallet. You're all aware of barium, strontium, and aluminum, I'm sure. Held up in the air with polymer fibers with coal ash. And there was an insider from Lawrence Livermore Labs who put out a report about 10 years ago, but it wasn't publicized till a year ago. He says that when we analyzed whether we should be spraying this stuff on the public, we've determined that the risk to the planet of global warming was way more serious than worrying about some long-term health consequences. So they just arbitrarily decided they were going to spray it because they analyzed that they had a better solution for the planet. Also, I want to be upfront about myself. I've been a lawyer for 27 years, and now I have 3 misdemeanors on my record, so I have a suspension for 1 year. And I don't apologize for living a vigorous life. I've got a DUI, a reckless driving, and fighting in public. And I just crashed my Maserati into the trees doing high-speed U-turn tricks, but I filed an appeal with the California Supreme Court to reinstate my license. I just didn't want to represent that. If it hits the airwaves that I got a suspension, I'm not afraid of that, so I just want people to know. I'm planning on suing Dick Cheney and Rush Limbaugh also for delaying the approach to stop the chemtrail and delay our addressing global warming, but might be causing our lawsuit to be more complicated, and I might get outvoted on that, but just one of the theories. So anyway, I'm listed, Joe Marman, locally on the internet. If you want to call or give me any ideas, I'm open to your suggestions too. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you, Joe. Sometimes it's when you look up and you pay attention that you wake up. Sometimes it's when you watch a video, a movie, a documentary for somebody who's already awakened. This such person could be known as Michael Murphy. How many of you have been awakened by why in the world are they spraying and what in the world are they spraying? And this man, he puts those who would disagree with us to the test. Michael's also in discussion with attorneys about filing a class action lawsuit. Please put my name on any class action that will focus on damages that have resulted from ongoing geoengineering programs. I'm very excited to have Michael Murphy here to speak to us today. He's currently in production with his 3rd call to action film that addresses chemtrail geoengineering programs titled Unconventional Gray. So please help me in welcoming Michael Murphy.
Thank you very much. thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody that's here, every speaker, every person who has taken out their day, their time, taken out their lives to address what we believe is the most, without question, important issue in the world. So everybody, please look at your neighbor, give yourselves a big round of applause. What's interesting, in 2010, 6 years ago, just a little under 6 years ago, when we released What in the World Are They Spraying?, we went to the island of Maui and other areas, and it was very rare to find somebody who was aware of this issue, or for that matter, even heard of it. As a matter of fact, getting back to Maui, there was about, I think, 6 people on the entire island who were aware of chemtrails and of the issue of geoengineering. Today we have about an 80 to 90% awakeness on the island, and that is due largely to the activist community getting involved with your community. So give yourselves a big round of applause. As we move forward, looking back 6 years, we can look at the successes that we've had into reaching out to our community. And I think we should be proud of those successes. What I want to stress today is the importance of moving forward, of somewhat changing directions, looking at the areas where we have failed and the areas where we can have more success. And while reaching out to our community is very important, information is essential and it's key. And I want to encourage everyone to continue doing that. We have to go further. We have to take other measures, and we have to take that knowledge and put it into effective action. The key to stopping geoengineering is not only awakening, although awakening is very important in the process. The key is taking effective action, and that involves legal, legislative, and community actions. And we're moving forward with that. 6 years later, we're working on my 3rd film, and I'm proud to announce we have a very good team with us, and I feel strongly that this will allow us to not only get the message that we're getting out into our communities, but it's also a call to action film, which is based on very specific legal and legislative steps that we can take in our communities and in the world as a whole. With the film, Unconventional Gray, I have a very well-known editor, Tina Imahura from Hollywood, California. She's worked on some big-name, big-budget films. She's going to be bringing her expertise. And I just had a commitment yesterday, on Monday, from a 9-time Grammy Award nominee who has made a commitment to do the music and to compose the music for this film. So let's thank them for getting involved. With our call to action, we have a couple of legal and legislative steps. And the issue of global warming has come up, and I've heard it today, and I want to honor the organizers who said we can't bring the issue of global warming up. And I do think that's prudent. And the reason is this. There's about a 60-40 split in terms of belief systems. And as a matter of fact, we've seen this very issue do damage and create arguments in our movement. I do want to make a broad statement and a very concise statement, and this has been, I've been misrepresented in certain capacities. People have put words in my mouth, so I think it's important to speak the absolute truth. Geoengineering programs are designed to change the temperature of our planet. They are designed to manipulate our weather. And because they've been ongoing for several years, it is impossible, literally impossible, to get an accurate temperature reading. Absolutely right. So addressing the issue or taking a side on global warming, it's not prudent, it has proven to be divisive, and it does nothing whatsoever to back up our goals or to support our goals in stopping geoengineering. Are we all in agreement with that? Now I'm going to take this a step further. I never argue global warming versus global cooling. It's impossible to determine. I am not God, but I do have God flowing through me. However, He has not given me an accurate temperature reading yet. I'm still praying for that, which I think is a very important component of our work, which we'll be getting into later. Climate models. Climate models that predict global warming or global cooling, they are missing the big factor. Can anybody tell me what factor they are missing? The biggest climate, perhaps the biggest factor in our changing climate? Geoengineering. And because of that, they're blocking the sun, and because of geoengineering, they're missing that component. All of our laws, all of the mandates, and as a matter of fact, the proposed legislative steps to legalize geoengineering without our input and without the input of our legislators are based on flawed climate models. And the agenda that we know through the TPP, other climate agreements are to create world government which will strip away our sovereignty, and it will allow them to legalize geoengineering without our input and without the input of our legislators. And if we allow that to happen, it will make it exponentially more challenging in our goals of stopping geoengineering. So we are moving forward with a lawsuit, and I'm not going to talk about too much about this, that aims to prove that climate models are flawed and fraudulent with the agenda to stop global warming mandates, legislation, and taxes. And because of that, what it will do, it will force those who are supportive of these taxes, of the global warming agenda, to support us, because we're going to be getting a court injunction to stop geoengineering. And geoengineering will be stopped based on the injunctions of halting, getting an injunction to stop all climate change related, again, laws, mandates, and taxes. So this is a message of unity. And the goals are to get the support of both sides of the issue, where we can get away from the argument of warming or cooling and look at the true cause of our changing climate, which is geoengineering. Now, as you might imagine, because there are multi-trillions of dollars involved with this issue, it's not always a popular message, but it's absolute truth. And that is how we are moving forward. I want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and people don't realize this because I don't talk about it a lot, but I pray a lot. I do. And we prayed first through the first film. And I was used by God, I believe, as somebody who knew very little about this issue, who knew nothing about filmmaking, who really knew nothing, and the steps were ordered. So I borrowed a camera. That's how we started What in the World Are They Spraying? And people started sending me airplane tickets and asking me to come and investigate what had happened and what they were finding. So it led me to Northern California, and that's where the first basis of the film started, and we went all the way out to Belgium. Now I know for a fact I did not have the knowledge to do this. I know for a fact I did not have the genius to do this, and I know for a fact that God had ordained me to bring this message to the world, and we did. My third film, we have a prayer team, and I invite you to come over to our table. Whether you believe in the power of God or not, we're going to move forward in prayer, asking God for guidance every day. And I need your support in that capacity. And we're going to do our best to follow the ordered steps, and we know this is going to be a battle. I want to take a moment for those who wish to pray, just to bow your heads very quickly. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to enlighten all of us to this issue, to bring us together collectively here, and we thank you for ordaining us to reach out to our community, our communities. We ask that you show us the way, that you guide us, that you lead us, and you direct us. We pray for protection over everyone here that is on our team, that is moving forward, and truth and integrity. And we pray that geoengineering is stopped once and for all, and for your guidance. Thank you. Can we all say amen? Got a couple of claps, but you will see the power of God. I'm very certain of that. As long as we stay in truth, integrity, and we follow the ordered steps. I'm very confident of that, so I'm going to make this bold statement. I want to share with everybody, I started selling a product called MSM Sulfur, and it's a detox. And what it does, it cleanses aluminum, every other heavy metals, which we know are very high in our rain. I have some over at the table. We also have DVDs. The reason I'm mentioning this, a healthy activist is a powerful activist, and our health needs to come first. Only one person agrees. Okay. We have some others. And also, I want to urge everybody, sometimes things get financially tight. We don't have big corporate funding yet. We don't have jobs, many of us. So we're forced to live on what some would call a shoestring budget. And I just want to encourage everybody here today to support activists, again, who are moving forward in truth and integrity. We need to move out of the area where we're lacking resources. Our enemy, the people that we're against, they have unlimited resources. They have unlimited funds. And because of that, this is truly a David and Goliath. And in order to continue with this battle, we definitely do need the funds to get up on the same stage. And when I first started this work, people would offer me donations, and I said, no, I'm not doing this for money. You know, it's not about that, which it's not. However, money can be a tool to give us the resources needed to move forward in this critical work. So please, never forsake supporting the activists in our community. We need each other. We need each other. We need each other. I was joking with Patrick. I said, geez, you know, I have to follow you guys. I had all of this scientific stuff that I wanted to tell. And I said, how can I follow all of these great speakers? And the truth is I can't, because the knowledge is powerful and it's effective. And us, we have the resources. Those of us that are here today, we have the resources, the tools to be effective, to be productive, and to make the change that we're looking for. I have a couple of things, and then I'll close it up. I want to say one thing, and I hope everybody listens, because this is very important. Lighten up. Lighten up! Have some fun! Would you please lighten up? Come on, everybody take a deep breath. Relax. Have fun. Do not forsake your true nature. Your true nature for this work. It's not sustainable. Sustainable is having fun. So that's my one major criticism in the work that we do. And what's a little more important than this, love each other, care for each other, and be kind to each other. We are only as strong as we are unified. I want to stress this again. We are only as strong as we are unified. And what I mean by that, we may not always agree. And yes, there have been people that have come in to divide. But love unites. And love is not rude, love is kind. Love does not boast, love is not proud. Love is sometimes gentle, but sometimes firm. But we must ask ourselves, how can I love more and judge less? How can I guide people instead of publicly ridiculing them? How can I get on Facebook and encourage my brother who might be off base, perhaps in a message? Does this really have to happen in public? Does it really? And there's a way to do things. And I'm confident that today we will leave empowered. I'm confident today that we will leave as a group that can hug, that can laugh, that can have fun, and can also be a very powerful and the powerful force in stopping these crimes against nature and humanity. With this, and as the clock strikes 12, I'm not sure if that's a sign from above. I just want to thank everybody again, not only for coming out today, not only for what you've done, but what you are going to do. Moving forward in truth, integrity, peace, justice, moving forward with what you know to do that is right. Thank you, everybody, and as always, keep looking up.
Thank you so much, Michael. You know, it's been raining a lot, and I'm so relieved. I live in Nevada City. We've had many forest fire scares. Again, I was raised in the area where I am right now, and I'd never seen the fire danger so high. I'd never had my belongings packed up in my living room, ready to go at a moment's notice. And I'm very curious because we have lots of rain now. We'll probably have more rain than what we usually have in a year, which is wonderful. But I'm going to make a prediction, and my prediction is all the trees that we see that are stressed continue to be stressed. And it's at that point when the soil should be abundant with moisture that we can really start raising the question, why would that be? If we're receiving water, why would the trees still be stressed and unhealthy? Interestingly enough as well, I noticed, I'm sure many of you did also with the reports that we heard about the forest fires throughout California and Washington and Oregon. There were just unprecedented heats. We're melting structures way before the flames even reached the structures, moving at incredible rates. And then I came across some information, I had never really thought about it before, but it had mentioned before about the Ho Chi Minh Trail, about Vietnam, where we had actually used geoengineering to rain out the supply trail. At the same time, they also used napalm, and I really never knew what napalm was. How many of you know what napalm was really used for? Well, one of the things that napalm did was they would actually spray it back and forth all over villages and forests and the jungles of Vietnam, so that when their bombs dropped, the flames would go out for miles and incinerate everything around it, way beyond where the bomb would actually drop. And I couldn't help but think, wow, isn't that amazing? Because we get these fires and they start and we just can't stop them. They seem almost unnatural. And I think we need to actually pay attention to that. Now that the drought seems to be ending, we're getting plenty of rain. I'm going to assume it's going to continue because of El Nino. I'm just asking the crowd to pay attention to this. And if it looks like the forest fires continue and the trees continue to die, we're going to have to ask our friends and loved ones around us, why is that? If it's raining and we're out of the drought, what is behind that? We were supposed to have, speaking of weather and rain and snow, David Castle was coming over, one of our singers, over the pass, could not make it, snowed in. So we have Kate, who's stepping up, Kate Willins again, to sing a song or two for us. So I'd really like to bring Kate right back up and bring us her brilliance.
What? Okay, I think we're having Syllable Villain come back too. But I'm going to sing a song for you right now that you know, America the Beautiful, but the words are by the wonderful scientist who has really devoted himself to this movement and who will be speaking shortly, by J. Marvin Herndon, Dr. Herndon. beautiful for spacious skies, no longer as before. I need my words. All day the jets lay toxic spray. The azure sky is no more. America, America, what has become of thee? Each breath we take, our health's at stake. Now listen to our plea. What right has any one of them to taint the air we breathe with toxic ash from burning coal, in secrecy deceive? America, America, we are no longer free. Each lie they say most every day hides illegality. Politicos, like clowns, they dance with blinders on their eyes. And aren't we seeing it? While tanker jets spray toxic ash above our country's skies. America, America, wake up now and take charge. Before more harm, cry out alarm. The spray planes are at large. Into our lungs and through our skin, and even through our eyes, the jet sprayed ash will poison you and harm your children's lives. America, America, look up and see the light. White haze above, save those you love, and join us in the fight. White haze above, save those you love, and join us in the fight. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be able to be here and to sing here with you. I'm going to be coming back in about an hour, so I'm going to save what I want to say then, but I just want to applaud the work of a man that I worked with for 5 years and still am working with, the wonderful Clifford Carnicom, whose work really began this movement. And I urge you to go and educate yourself about what is really inside your bodies from this spraying by looking at the research at carnicominstitute.org. And now I'd like to ask Syllable Villain, the marvelous, creative, genius songwriter that was with us earlier. Are you still here, Syllable?
Behind you.
Ah, there you are. So nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for that song. Hey guys, thank you for having me out here a second time today. I'm going to be performing the track that I did earlier and the same a cappella. Hope you guys enjoy it for a second time round. Thank you. DJ. In just a second, guys. And remember, everybody, keep on looking up. Yep, Syllable Villain, all the way here from South Africa to beautiful Sacramento. Slightly chilly, but here we go, guys. Yo man, I walk around, watching planes fly overhead, spraying us with these trails of aluminium and lead, and as it spreads, it fills me with all this anger and dread, and I'm led to wish that we were all just dead instead. How my heart bled to see them messing with the heavens. Now it's 6s and 7s, man, we never learn our lessons, and we never gave our blessings to mess around with our clouds. Now we're endowed with this shroud that is poison in the ground. I'm getting loud, cause we need to stop this betrayal, and every breath I inhale is tainted by chemtrails, causing summer skies to hail and your organs to fail. If your soul is for sale, you should be locked up in jail. You're looking pale, checking that the skies are clear, but if you watch a little longer, see those white lines appear, causing lies and fear, cause our demise is near. But if your mind stays sincere, then your cries will one day endear. Keep on looking up. Keep looking up, hoping the sky is clear. Keep on looking up. But watch a little longer, see white lines appear. Keep on looking up. Make sure your time stays clear as the time draws near. Keep on looking up. The only power they hold over you is fear. Where's the love? It's raining poison from above, getting into everything from the water down to the shrubs. I've had enough. Now you expect me to be patient. You say there is no clue, but it's hidden inside your patents. Effects are latent, so we must just wait and see. Man, if you want a disaster, that's the perfect recipe. Now it's clear to me that something has just gone wrong, cause what we're doing up there is short of dropping a bomb. How I long for a world free of all of the tyranny, all the villainy. Man, it is straight up killing me. It's no conspiracy, the truth's up in the sky. Now would you put it past your governments to tell a lie? Neither would I. Let's end this hell. I'm here to raise the issue and you can do it as well, cause this is World War III and I'm just ringing that bell. And the only way we'll stop them is if we stand and rebel. So keep on looking up. Keep looking up, hoping the sky is clear. Keep on looking up. But watch a little longer, see white lines appear. Keep on looking up. Make sure your time stays clear as the time draws near. Keep on looking up. The only power they hold over you is fear. Remember, the only power they hold over us is fear. And keep on looking up, everyone. Keep on looking up.
Everyone seems to be looking for one answer to chemtrails, but they are multi-purpose. Chemtrails are lacing the skies of highly populated areas in NATO-controlled countries. They contain aluminium and barium, which reflects the sun's rays and radiation.
Okay, and just before I disappear, guys, I'd like to do that a cappella free verse for you one more time. Okay. Yo, so let's embrace this place we call our planet and home. Protect it with your heart, not your PC or your iPhone. It's your responsibility, man's fault alone, because the seed of destruction's the only one that we've grown. We're drowning in concrete with no way to escape. Victims of this system's psychological rape. From prostitution to constitution, everything's on tape. Look around, see the state of this planet's crumbling fate. Our skies are polluted, divided by chemtrails. Tides of plastics in our oceans are killing off all the whales. Forests disappear in newspaper sales. Earthquakes and hurricanes in the desert it hails. Our jungles and our rivers are drowning in waste because we're going through the motions like a rat in a race. We're brainwashed that life and love should be wasted with haste. But in this place we've been blindfolded, we no longer see the grace. Governments lie to the world, saying all is in order. Annihilation of the masses, primary target, New World Order. They've been striving to achieve since they set up our borders. And now we're being circled by sharks as we tread in murky waters. Thank you, Sacramento. It's been a pleasure performing for you guys today, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Never have too many heroes. We got another one named Oliver. Deborah Whitman. We have another amazing woman, Deborah. And Deborah will be coming up here in just a moment. Deborah is the founder and president of Environmental Voices, located in Rocklin, California. Their mission is to research and educate about toxic chemicals and how they affect our health and the environment. After retiring from the state of California as a small business advocate and contractor administrator, she became a community producer of Davis Media, Access Cable TV for Roseville. Her primary interest in research has been related to climate engineering programs, and she produced her first documentary film titled Skylines about aerosol geoengineering programs. And just to let you folks know, before Deborah comes here, I just want to make it very clear that we actually have some packets down here. We're going to go beyond just preaching to the choir today. We have packets where you can take them, and you can take them to your legislators. All you need to do is get your iPhone and just Google your zip code and who your legislator is. And for you to show up on their doorstep saying, hey, I want you to read this, is worth 100 people writing letters to them. And that's what we can do today. If you want to get more involved also, we have over here some sign-up sheets. So you can actually check out if there's a geoengineering organization in your area as well. So I just want to make sure we have that housekeeping done. And once again, I'd like to go back to Deborah Whitman. She's coming up here to talk about what she's working on next. And as I said, I've got another hero. Thank you, Deborah.
I keep telling everybody they need step ladders when they set up these things. So, but anyway, I want to thank everyone for being here today. Even though we were expecting a lot of rain, it just happened that we've had a little break here, and it's been really nice. So thank you again for coming out and supporting us. I want to talk a little bit about how I got involved in this movement, and I suffer from what's called multiple chemical sensitivities. I was very sick for many years and had to retire early and go on disability. Come to find out, the reason I was going into emergency once or twice a month on an average was because I was allergic to what they're spraying in the skies. I went to Yolo County Sierra Club and took pictures and tried to bring up this issue, and they refused to let me speak on 2 occasions. So I got angry and I decided to start my own nonprofit, and this is our primary issue. We try to educate people about the health and how is they're affected from this continuous spraying. So I want you to know that these metals that we're finding in rainwater and soil samples, tree bark samples, Environmental Voices even did some fiber samples, and they're coming back positive with aluminum, barium, strontium, titanium. So I know for a fact that these chemicals are affecting our health and the environment and our trees. What I did when I found this out is I chelated the metals out of my body. The product I used was zeolite, but I encourage you to do some of your own research, see what type of products are good for you. Mike has some that's really good also that you might want to try, but do your own research, education on it. I encourage you to work with naturopathic doctors. And Lisa here is also starting a program where they're doing hair analysis tests. So make sure that you talk to Lisa regarding that and see how you can get part of that program. So the other thing that you need to do to improve your health, and that is to build up your immune system. It's so important. Even though our organic food is probably laden with heavy metals, we don't have the pesticides and the herbicides as well. So you need to build up your immune system. This is going to be a long fight. And this is the year, 2016, is the year of action. And this is the year that we're going to get geoengineering stopped. So I thank you so much for that. And I also want to let you know about facts. There's a lot of facts out there. We've done rain analysis. You can go on many of the websites and get the documentation you need so that when you do talk to members of the legislature or even people that on the street that you meet, that you'll have a lot of knowledge about this issue. It's been going on for many years. And it's a worldwide program. I know that I moved out of California. I was going to relocate to a different state until I saw there was spraying there as well. So that didn't work, and then I learned it was a worldwide program. So some of the consequences that we're faced with is not only health issues, which have really increased an awful lot in all types of things for autism, Alzheimer's, and lung disease, heart disease. So we contribute that to the spraying that's going on. Let me briefly read a couple of the symptoms that you get from poisoning from these metals. For aluminum, we know that it affects inflammation and pulmonary disorders. It also is linked to those illnesses that I had mentioned, Alzheimer's, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So the barium affects your blood pressure. How many people have high blood pressure or stomach problems? This is a side effect of barium. And so again, it's really important to contact a naturopathic doctor and to start healing yourself so we can fight this fight. I know we're getting ready to speak to members of our legislature, and I want to mention that Mike Murphy, Rosin Peterson, myself, Dane Wigington, and many other activists have walked these halls, personally talked to staff members, handed out information, DVDs, and we've never, at least I've never as much as got a telephone call to find out what this is all about and what they can do about it. So I encourage you, when you go and speak to your members of the legislature, to please ask them why they haven't done anything. Ask them what we can do to get this stopped. And we need to start putting pressure on members of the legislature to take some action. And I hope that you'll do that and follow up, because it's important. That's one thing that I haven't really been good on. I brought the information to them expecting that they would do something, but I really didn't follow up. So that is key for all of us, to follow up with the members. And I often get questions of what I can do to help. Well, whatever your skill is, if you're good at walking and like to get exercise, walk around an area just like members that are running for offices do. Take some handout information and talk to people. If you're good at writing, write articles. If you like to speak, speak. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can have flyers made out. You can have, what I like to do is called honkin' waves. You can get 2 or 3 people just on a street corner and have signs, or freeway blogging. There's all kinds of things that you can do, and we need to really start working a lot harder than we have. And so anyway, I want to thank you very much. We have a bunch of handout information in our booth and a sign-up sheet for our newsletter that we put out each month. And we also deal with other issues as far as fracking, GMOs, and that type of problems that we're dealing with. But this is the #1 problem in my eyes. This is why I was ending up in emergency and having to go through what I had to go through. And so I hope in fact, I don't hope, I know that we're going to make a difference. This is the big year that we're going to get this program stopped, and it's because of all of you out there, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Deborah, so much. I was told, too, that if you want to take some of these packages to your representatives, that when you go through these doors here, you'll see there's actually a sign that has all the information in case anything has changed, if any of those names have actually changed. You know, it's interesting. When I talk about geoengineering or chemtrails, people say, well, there's nobody really in the scientific community who thinks that way, or it's basically just conspiracy theorists. This stuff's been going on for decades anyway, and it's not a big deal. And I'm like, well, you know, it's been going on, at least we know, since the 1940s. And if it's stopped, if it's not happening, what event happened to cause it to stop? What decision, what agreement was signed where nations in America agreed to stop doing this? No such thing exists. Well, as I said, when you become aware of what's going on and your eyes wake up, you have to ask yourself, what can I do? You have a sense of responsibility. And one individual is J. Marvin Herndon, who is a scientist who also had an awakening. J. Marvin Herndon is an American interdisciplinary scientist who earned his BA degree in physics from the University of California. In other words, he's a very smart man. He also received his PhD degree in nuclear chemistry from Texas A&M University. For 3 years, Dr. Herndon was a postdoctoral apprentice to Hans E. Suess. and Nobel laureate Harold C. Urey in geochemistry and cosmochemistry at the University of California, San Diego. This man really does know his stuff. He's the president and chief scientist of TransDigm Corporation in San Diego, California as well. Profiled in current biography along with Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, William H. Rehnquist, White House Chief of Staff Andrew Carr Jr., film director and screenwriter Sofia Coppola, and 13 others, dubbed of maverick geophysicists by the Washington Post, and armed with a unique knowledge of nature, of science, and the ways to make important discoveries passed down through generations of master scientists. J. Marvin Herndon's professional life as a technologist and as a scientist has been a step-by-step logical progression of understanding and discovery, uncovering deep-rooted mistakes in geophysics, in astrophysics, and in science management. The consequence has been discovering the strikingly different nature of the Earth and the universe, as well as providing experimental evidence that the main substance of chemtrails is coal fly ash, as described in world-class scientific journals and in his recent book, Herndon's Earth and the Dark Side of Science. Please welcome Mr. Herndon.
That's so formal. How about Marvin? Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, was a man of few words, but they were always insightful and precise. At one point, before the Young Men's Lyceum in Springfield, Illinois, he said this: "At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it ever reach us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be the author and finisher." Now, 178 years later, I say this: the approach of danger is already at hand. The danger has indeed sprung up amongst us, and unless we act decisively, it will indeed be our finisher. Look up in the sky. Relentless spraying day after day into the air we breathe. Michael Murphy rightly asked the question, what are they spraying? What does the United States Air Force tell us about what is being sprayed? Quote, "There's no such thing as a chemtrail." And they go on to tell you that contrails, which is jet exhaust ice crystals, are harmless. When the government lies to you, what else do? You ask what is being sprayed, you get no answers from authorities, only silence or lies. Well, as a scientist, when I became aware of this near daily spraying in the blue skies over San Diego, I decided to discover for myself what is being sprayed. And I did, and I published that in 2 scientific articles in the peer-reviewed scientific literature. Now, my scientific training goes back a long way, and I've published in some of the world's most prestigious journals. And I will tell you this, the academic community has not been honest with you. The university professors have not been honest. They talk about geoengineering as if it's something that might be done in the future by putting substances high in the stratosphere. They ignore the fact that the military has for decades been doing geoengineering, not in the stratosphere, in the troposphere, which mixes with the air we breathe. And as I said, I took data that was available and made sense out of it from a scientific standpoint, essentially using chemical forensic techniques. So what is being sprayed? The evidence is that coal fly ash is the substance. Now when utilities burn coal, it forms 2 kinds of ash. The heavy ash settles out. The very finely divided ash that used to go up the smokestack but is now trapped because it's a toxic nightmare. That's called coal fly ash. And that, I will tell you with great certainty, is what is being sprayed in the air above us. Experiments have shown that water leaches chemicals out of it. Just like you put a tea bag in a cup of tea and the flavors, the chemicals comes out. Well, rain, water in the air takes toxins, chemicals out of coal fly ash. And that's what people are measuring. You hear reports of aluminum, barium, and strontium in rainwater. Those are some of the prominent elements. But also comes out are calcium and magnesium and sulfur and arsenic, chromium, thallium, mercury, and dozens more. I mean, this stuff is truly a toxic nightmare. Now, well, there's a lot of problems with it, but one problem is the nano-size nature. It means we can breathe the particles. It can go through our skin, through our eyes. And when we inhale it, it goes deep into the lungs, where it stays, and our body's moisture extracts the toxins, which include heavy elements, radioactive elements, and aluminum in a chemically mobile form that's been linked to neurological diseases, autism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, attention deficit disorder. Now, in normal times, if a foreign power were flying over this country spreading coal fly ash, our military would shoot those planes down and we would have a declaration of war. Well, there is a war, and it's the war of the military against American people. And it's happening here, and it's happening in Europe, it's happening in Canada, it's happening in Australia, in New Zealand, and probably places I don't even know about. Abraham Lincoln was quite correct 178 years ago. This has arisen amongst us, and it is now for us to stop. So to our male politicians, I say this: stand up and behave like men. Demand a stop to this aerial spraying. Protect life, including the life of your own families, from this toxic menace. And to our female politicians, I say this: wake up. Remember, the primal responsibility of your gender is to give and protect life. Demand a stop to this slow pandemic, which is particularly heinous to pregnant women and the children they're carrying. It's heinous to children, to the elderly, and especially to those with compromised respiratory and immune systems. Do this so that, in Lincoln's words, this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marvin. You know, I think we forget the different tools of war. I think we always relate a war as being bombs and bullets. And we don't realize there's many different proxy wars. There could be a war on your food. There could be a war on your children. There could be a war on your water. There could be a war on your right to free speech. And little did we know there could be a war on our skies, and that is actually what we are having to deal with. So our next guest, you have already heard her incredible voice and her incredible lyrics, but she too one day was looking up at the sky and realized that there was something amiss. Kate Willins discovered that chemical aerosols were being sprayed from planes in 2011, and it turned her world around, like I think it turned most of our world around. She became a volunteer for Carnicom Institute, working closely with Clifford and Carol Carnicom. She helped Clifford to organize the Morgellons research project and manage communications for the Institute. In 2015, Kate put her musical talents to work for the movement to expose geoengineering with her songs Up, Up in the Sky and Bluer Than Blue. Some of you may have heard this on YouTube. Both available on YouTube. She's also been recorded protest songs written by Dr. J. Marvin Herndon, who you just heard speak. Kate hosts the Blue Sky Report on American Freedom Radio, hoping that the show will serve as a platform for activists such as ourselves. She's working on completing her training as a hospital chaplain and will receive her master's in divinity degree this spring. As I said, we have a very, very a mixed array of individuals here speaking today. She lives in Northern California with her husband, pets, and her 2 grown children whenever they come to visit. And once again, I'd love to thank and welcome Kate Willins.
Since she's getting ready, I just want to make a quick announcement that we're going to have another event on March 5th right here. So make sure you put it on your calendars. Check out Environmental Voices website for the dates and information. Thank you.
Okay, you don't trip. Okay, I'm plugged in. Now, if you can, you need to. Thank you. Can you guys hear the guitar now? Yeah? Okay, good. Hang on. Went out for a walk today. Weather's fine, but then white lines. Sky is cloudy, looks like rain, but nothing ever falls on California's plain. Skies look crummy. Hang on. Skies look gummy, look crummy, look fake. Can't escape the dull heartache, knowing that my weather's been taken from me. Asking myself, how can it be? Sing it with me, Bluer Than Blue. Bluer than blue, that's how the sky was. Whiter than white, those were the clouds sailing by. Asking my friends, have you seen the lines? They're telling me they ain't got time. Worried and harried, they're shaking their heads, doing their best to keep their family fed. Bluer than blue, that's how the sky was. Whiter than white, those were the clouds sailing by. When they spray, my soul just dies. Used to love to look at the skies. Skies are a window to the world above. Why can't they treat the skies with love? Bluer than blue, that's how the skies were. Whiter than white, those were the clouds sailing by. The sky shouldn't be a military zone, the amniotic sac of our earthly home. We breathe the sky with every breath we take. Geoengineering grave mistake. Together we can change the tide, see the truth and not hide. The future depends on what we do. Speak the truth, bluer than blue. Bluer than blue, that's how the sky was. Whiter than white, those were the clouds sailing by. Truer than true, that was the land I thought I knew. Bluer than blue, bluer than blue. Thank you, thank you. So, let's see here. As I wanted to just tell you a little bit about my background. So I worked for 5 years with Clifford Carnicom, who used to camp out in the desert, in the high desert of New Mexico, and he started to see white lines. And he was a scientist that worked for the Department of Defense for 16 years. And so he started to take it upon himself to find out what is in their spray. Now, Dr. Herndon just talked about coal fly ash, which may well be the base, and that's bad enough. But there are actually fibers that are coming down on you now in this rain. And in those fibers, which go into your bodies, there are biologically engineered organisms that replicate in our bodies. So it is very important to alkalinize your body and to take measures such as Michael Murphy talked about before with MSM and other ingredients to protect your health. It's very, very important. Please check out carnicominstitute.org for their research. And now I'm going to sing the first song that I created, my first geoengineering song, which is called Up in the Sky. Hang on, let me get it here, which I think I know it. Okay. No, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. Up in the sky, there they go again. The chemtrail planes, they're flying high. They don't want you to know, and so they lie and deny the truth. I wonder who they think they are. Hang on. Hang on, I'm just forgetting my words because I'm nervous. Just a second, guys. Isn't it okay to not be perfect? Yes, okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. Here we go, okay. Up in the sky, there they go again. The chemtrail planes, they're flying high. They don't want you to know, so they lie and deny the truth. I wonder who they think they are. Laying down white lines to spoil the blue. I wonder why, I wonder how. doubt what they see in plain view. Up in the sky, there they go again. The chemtrail planes, they're flying high. They don't want you to know, so they lie and deny the truth. They say it's not happening, it can't be. Why would the government do that to you and me? That what you and I see is illusion, is madness, is conspiracy. They say it's just ice. They only want to talk nice. Can't they see that the atmosphere's changed by the climate change brought by the planes they've arranged? Up in the sky, there they go again. The chemtrail planes, they're flying high, but they don't want you to know, so they lie and deny the truth. But you and I, we can plainly see that the skies are strewn with whitish goo made of barium, strontium, biologicals too, emitting fibers that grow in me and you, emitted from planes arcing high, while the people below struggle to survive, while the people below breathe gas and die. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I've got one more if that's okay.
If everybody could please hang around. After Kate is done with his number, we're going to take a picture up here. I'd like to get that all put together, so please stay. And then after Kate is done and we've taken our picture, we have a bunch of packets to take to your legislators. Go up there and ask to talk to a legislative assistant or the legislator himself or herself and give them information, please.
Did everybody hear that?
That's a very important piece of
Again, packages right here, legislator packages right here.
Let me do it again on the list.
There you go.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so Kate. Okay, I have to really stand on my toes to do this. That's my exercise for the day, I guess. So we have, Kate is going to sing one more song, and then we're going to all get up here for a picture, so if you could please hang around long enough for that. And then on that table right over there under the blue tarp, we have a box of information packets that have been put together specifically to take to our legislators. If you don't know who your legislators are, your assemblyman or your senator, find somebody with an iPhone, and all you have to do is put who's my assemblyman, who's my senator, California Senate, and your zip code, and you can bring it up. A lot of people will just know if you just ask them, you know, if you say which area do you live in. I know a lot of them. So please, that is a key part of what we're doing here today. Get this information into the hands of our government. It's really, really important. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Last song I'm going to do for you was written by Dr. Marvin Herndon to the European anthem from the Ode to Joy by, who? Anyway, it's called the European Anthem, Stop Geoengineering for Europe. By the way, this is a global program. This is not only here in California or in the United States. I was in Russia. It was all over the place. And it's all over the world. Okay. Europeans, look above you Police are spraying toxic waste, ash from burning coal. They outspew Europe's leaders in disgrace. You leaders should stand upright, follow not what the Yanks say. Shield humanity from this plight, heed our call and save the day. Geoengineering madness, coal fly ash into air sprayed. Earth will suffer from that badness, all humanity betrayed. Neurological diseases for the young and very old. Slow pandemic in the breezes, breathing ash from burning coal. Academics remain silent about the spraying of the land. Are they being just compliant? Are their heads stuck in the sand? Europe's scholars should speak outright if they want to be believed. Academics spare the true light. People will not be deceived. Europeans, stop the spraying, do not be American. Protect life, that's what we're praying. Nature's life depends on man. Europe's people all together, sanity again can rule. Do not try to change the weather, that is folly for the fool. Thank you. And now let's go and hit our legislature. Thank you so much.
Lisa's got one more thing to say.
Here it finally comes down. I really want to say thank you to Kate for being willing to just jump in wherever we needed to fill space with amazing talent. And I really want to say a special thank you to Reinette Senum for coming all the way down here on it. She just started a new business and she has done a fabulous job today. Thank you, Reinette. If everybody could gather for a picture and then hit your legislators with info packets, it would really be great. Bring your signs up. Let's get the signs in there. Oh, and I'd like to say that the trolls have been hitting the event site on Facebook like crazy today. We must be making a difference.